Well, Karl Jackson of the Parish Collaborative in Methuen joins us in the studio, and you can tell that I am from the Archdiocese of Boston, because I say Methuen, and I can get that correct. Now, you're a Canadian, you're originally from Canada.
I am, yeah.
So, well, tell us about the role of the collaborative parishes at St. Lucy's and St. Monica in Methuen.
Sure. So I'm the Director of Faith Formation at both St. Monica and St. Lucy parishes, which is part of the Methuen Collaborative, as you mentioned. I work with a great team, Samantha Moore, who is our youth minister and confirmation coordinator, and basically focus on youth ministry, family ministry, and sacrament prep in my time there. Been there about 5 years now. Yeah.
5 years?
Yeah, about 5 years.
So you're fully ensconced there in the Methuen Collaborative. So I have to ask you, because faith formation is not an easy, it's not an easy job, but I'm sure it's very satisfying. What are some of your favorite things about being Director of Faith Formation in the Collaborative?
Sure. Well, I mean, the high point would always be, you know, if someone has a real encounter with Christ, you know, so that would be like at the top of the list. And we have been blessed to experience that. Just recently, our youth minister took a group of kids to the Steubenville East at UMass Lowell, and many kids came back on fire, and just making sure that we follow up with that. So that's a huge event. We also have started a new program of faith formation, where we have Mass preparation, Mass, and catechism lesson. We kind of rolled them all together to have the program reflect, you know, kind of the real structure, and the Mass is the source and summit of our life. So seeing all the families come to Mass on Sunday,
nice.
That's like a huge, for me and for many of the people in the pews. They're just so excited to have a full church, you know. So
all right, now I need some advice. Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to pretend we're not on TV right now.
All right.
So I have three kids. I have 2 teenagers.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And I have one who's going to be a teenager sooner than pretty soon. Yeah. How do I reach them? And my kids are great. They go to church. They love their faith. But how do you reach young people today? Because there are so many distractions out there that to get them to focus sometimes can be an issue.
Sure. Yeah. So one of the things we've found is that it's really hard to compete because there's really only 2 of us on the social media spectrum. I know your last guest has really devoted his time to that, which is awesome. But we don't have that resource so much. So we find like the one-on-one invitation to go out and talk to someone, because that seems to be a rarer thing nowadays. So making sure we make a personal connection with the kids, that's huge. Putting them in a situation where they can be have a positive experience of the faith. So, you know, some of the things like we do, we try and, in my house, I have much younger children. I have 4 younger children.
You're rubbing that in a little bit, right?
They're younger. Okay, they're much younger. They're very young. They're not even teenagers. But but we try and fold, you know, include prayer kind of as part of our life. And I'm sure you do the same thing. Try to live the liturgical life at home. That's huge, to make Sunday a day of celebration. Huge. You know, that's a day where we're going to set aside, and we're not going to be running around. We're going to focus in on family, and we're going to pray together. Making rosary a part of the daily prayer is great. Other things are using the seasons of Advent and Lent to really focus in on preparing for Christmas and Easter. The church gives us those seasons for a reason, and to actually make good use of that. One of the difficult things I'm finding as a parent is I can't give everything to my kids. And I can't provide I can't be the only witness of the faith. I mean, I try to be, and not just in the way, in my prayer life, but in the way I do things. So I think it's important that, you know, that there's patience with the way I treat them, the way I treat my wife, the way we interact with one another, how I listen, how I do my chores. Do I complain? So that kind of thing, right? Because our life isn't always, you know, it's not, as a layperson, it's not always, it's in Mass, right? We're not spending that's not where we're called necessarily to devote all of our time. So it's important that whatever we're doing it, you know, from those virtues of faith, hope, and charity, and really kind of planting the seed, so that they have that experience of a Catholic man. And then the other thing I do think it's really important and a little underrated, just the presence of the Father. I think it's really important for men to take a lead in the spiritual life.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. You talk about connecting with young people one-on-one. Pope Francis has encouraged us to encounter Christ, to encounter Christ as a real living person who is God and Lord and friend. How do you encourage that and facilitate that with young people?
Right. Well, I think it's so important that you live from your own encounter with Christ. So you can't give what you don't have. So I'm always reflecting on, am I allowing Christ in every element to rule in every aspect of my life? If I'm not willing to do that, how am I going to bring him to others? So I think that's first, kind of that self-reflection. You got to turn the light on yourself. And then when you encounter them, you know, again, treating every person you meet with dignity. Remembering, it's always the little things. You got to remember their name when you speak. I mean, we have 600 kids, 600 plus kids. Remember their name.
600 plus kids?
In the 2 parishes, yeah.
Wow.
So you got to remember their names, remember parents' names. Not because you have to, but like that matters to people. Like, oh, you remember me from last year.
Like I always remember Jay's name.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
right.
Oh, I would hope so.
Right, that's perfect, exactly. Yeah, so like we can imagine if we were all sitting here and we forgot each other's names, it would be very difficult to have a conversation. And so that's important. And then speaking the truth. Kids, the truth resonates. It always, it doesn't need us. It has its own power. So by just speaking it, we just need to be conduits of the truth and be willing to speak the truth. Absolutely.
They know.
Your collaborative is lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm serious.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, Karl, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
And, you know, keep up the good work because it makes a difference. And I can say that as a father. And you have 4 younger than mine, so good luck to you.
Oh, thank you.